things. And this day is no different, except that we have a special guest in the studio, or I think maybe at her house. And that is Anne, the CEO of the Intermodal Association of North America, or IANA for short. And we're going to be talking about their upcoming expo that's going to be taking place in September in Long Beach. But I don't want to take up all the time and share all the details. So while I pull up some visuals here, Anne, can I hand you the digital microphone and let you introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. And Nathan, the last time we saw each other, a couple significant things happened. We met owls, a
Yeah.
pygmy owl, as a matter of fact, which I'd never met a pygmy. I'd never really met owls on a regular basis, but I definitely never met a pygmy owl. And because we were in Nashville, Tennessee, we saw a Dolly Parton impersonator. May she
We
rest in
did.
peace.
Yes, we
I
did.
know. Gosh, what a lovely lady she was.
She was.
So Nathan, now that we've talked about gone our trip on memory lane, I am Anne Reinke. I'm the president and CEO of IANA, as you mentioned, and I have a long transportation history in this space, working for brokers when I was with TIA, working for the government when I was with US DOT, and working for the railroads when I worked for CSX. So now here I am sort of with everything in one fell swoop, except the government. IANA represents the railroads, the intermediaries, and in the intermodal space, they're called IMCs, intermodal marketing companies, the ocean carriers, the motor carriers, the chassis providers, and all the vendors in that space. We have about 1,000 corporate members. We are 34 years old. Actually, at this point, I guess we're 35 years
Okay.
old.
Wow.
And we have been convening our expo for a very long time in Long Beach. This year is no exception. We'll get to the fact that that will be changing starting in 2028.
Okay.
But this year, we're convening September 14th through the 16th. In Long Beach. And why do people go? Because it's literally the intermodal Super Bowl. It's for everybody in the intermodal space. And you may know this, Nathan, because you're very bright and you follow transportation regularly. There is a lot of momentum in the intermodal space right now for mainly economic reasons, some regulatory reasons as well, where shippers are looking at intermodal because motor carrier capacity is pretty tight and very costly because of fuel prices have gone up so much, and regulatory initiatives have shrunk capacity, and we can get into that. So there's sort of a lot of new energy around intermodal, and it is our time to really capture it and kind of make the growth that we see sort of sustain it over time, not just have a blip or a moment, as we've been calling it, but have it an intermodal constant.
Okay. It seems like more people may be knocking on y'all's doors than average, given the greater macro economy right now, then.
Yeah, we are hopeful of that. We have a really, really exciting program. So if you're in the intermodal space, if you're an intermodalist, as you say, as you could
Okay.
say, there are three tracks. You've got tools for growth, which I just talked about, applied technologies, and there's any number of exciting technologies that are even entering the intermodal space. I know we have already talked about technologies that are prevalent in the trucking space, the 3PL space, but guess what? A 200 and some odd old industry is actually getting some new technology too. This is very exciting. And capacity, risk, and security, because we all know the cargo theft continues to bedevil the industry. So this is the excitement. You have these three really relevant tracks, but we also have something highly relevant. You may have heard that there's this proposed rail merger potentially to occur. It's currently under regulatory review. So we have both the proponent of this rail merger, the Union Pacific CEO, Jim Vena, and someone who opposes the rail merger, the CEO of BNSF, Katie Farmer, and they are speaking back to back on Tuesday morning. We are so excited about that because, again, railroads were a pretty old industry. Not that much happens in the railroad space. This is kind of a big deal.
And people like to see a little bit of drama. It feels like the fact that you don't have people on stage that are each other's best friends and whatnot should be a draw of some sort. In the marketing world that we live in the conventional world that we live in, it's very much like, hey, look at how great everybody is. But the fact that you're going to have some opposing views here sounds kind of fun.
Yeah, it's authentically oppositional. So I
Yeah.
can't wait for that. And we've structured a beneficial cargo owner, what you call a shipper, we call them a beneficial cargo owner. We've structured a program around their participation because if there are new entrants into the intermodal space, they want to kind of understand exactly what intermodal is, what it does, how important it can be. So we have a whole kind of track for beneficial cargo owners. Also, as you know, I'm sure Nathan, because you know everything. It is Truck Driver Professional Appreciation Week next week, or the week of September 14th through the 16th. And so
Okay.
we have Wednesday, we're going to have a Truck Driver Appreciation Day, where if you are, say, an owner operator or a dray carrier or something like that out in the LA area, LA Long Beach area, you can attend for a very low price and get really some good education about what intermodal is, what being a dray carrier provides, et cetera.
I'm going to click here on young professionals because I
Yes.
remember growing up in the University of North Texas logistics program. We would go participate in case studies, and it
Yes.
was a thing. It was a great way to get really young folks on the scene and get them kind of exposed to conferences earlier. Y'all still doing that this year as
We
well?
sure as heck are.
Okay.
And what's really exciting, and so this is going to sound like I'm making this up, but I am not making this up. So we have these various schools come. I'm trying to remember exactly how many schools. I think it's 22. Don't, murder me if it's not 22, if it's 21, but I think it's 22.
Okay.
And they each send a group of students who are in the supply chain school, much like yourself back in the day. And what they're given is a problem, like a real life problem for them to fix and come up with solutions. They're given about, I don't know, 6 to 8 hours to figure it out. And then they present in front of people who are actually in the industry. And when I tell you, I went to see one once. I get so jaded about the next generation, right? Every generation thinks the one that follows them are a bunch of idiots. And I saw these guys and gals and I thought, how lucky are we? Like the future is actually in pretty good hands if we have these smarty pantses who literally got the problem yesterday or, whatever, 6 hours ago, and now they're presenting on it and actually sounding like they know what they're talking about. So yes, we're having that. Sunday they get the case and then I think they present it Sunday afternoon or no, Monday. Monday. They present it Monday morning.
Okay. You're not the only one that has this fear of is the next generation gonna work as hard and be as innovative and whatnot as mine? And similar to you, when I see those little glimmers of awesomeness come through, I'm like, all right, we're gonna be okay. We're gonna be okay.
Yeah, well, look, you started in this school and now look where you're at. I mean, it's exciting. It's people who get inspired by what they see in real life and are thinking, this is actually a career trajectory that I might be interested in. And thank God for that, because as I mentioned, this is an old industry. And so having new people who can take a new spin on an old industry is incredibly important.
Yes, I would agree. Well, let's take a quick look at what else is going on. I know we're sitting here talking a little bit about the expo coming up, but we do want to kind of just share that we've got other things to do for folks that may not be in Long Beach that particular week. And then there's, of course, things to do this week as well. So, but a quick shout out to the sponsors of the Supply Chain events calendar, Quick Code and the Goats of Growth, one of maybe the best names I've ever heard. But this is all available at supplychain.com/events, where we have over 600 conferences and events like this listed for folks to be able to go check out. This first one right now, which is actually taking place today in Houston, is just for public works. So all your cities and municipalities and their fleets. There's a lot of different angles of logistics that go on. This one you may be familiar with, Anne. FTR apparently is
Yeah.
a research house. Are you familiar with them?
Yes, and they sort of do analysis of economic data And then from there, they can try to determine what kind of trends they're seeing in the logistics industry. Yeah,
So
they're a
they've
good
got
bunch.
their annual conference coming up right now as well this week. The folks up in North Dakota, who probably have a lot of chatter going on right now regarding relationship with Canada, and so the North Dakota transportation folks are getting together up there in Grand Forks. And then we've just got a few other things going on throughout the rest of the world. I'll just kind of identify real quickly where I'm going to be next as well. I just had my 24th conference last week that I hit, and that was the National Defense Transportation Association's Texas Regional Meeting. And you may be familiar that Fort Hood here in Texas runs, when they're deploying soldiers, they're running 3 different lines through either Port of Beaumont, Corpus Christi, or Port Arthur. And so they will go load up all the tanks and Hummers off
Yeah.
trains. And it was really cool to hear how the military complex of logistics actually does rely on the civilian industry to move soldiers and cargo and weapons around, not just the world, but also just to get them off the beach here in America and get them deployed out overseas. That was
Yeah.
really interesting.
It is interesting. And then, a lot of logistics professionals come from the military.
Yes, yes, true, very true. So I've got a handful of stops coming up. This particular week, I will be at Clio Connect in Chicago. So going to trade the 105 degrees here for less than 100 degrees up in Chicago this week. And then we've just got a handful of other places. Will be nothing extremely exotic, no South Africas or Dubai's coming up in the next few months. But if anyone's got an invitation for me to get over to Southeast Asia, I would really like to get out there. So with that, we'll kind of stop sharing here and just see, Anne, as we kind of wrap things up in today's episode, any last little bits of information or insights you would like to leave with folks regarding IANA's Expo this year.
Well, on the fun side, we have Gunther Steiner, who is on a Netflix show about Formula F1 racing or motorcycle racing. I'm going to learn. I don't know all there is to know about Gunther Steiner, but I'm excited about that. And on the serious side, we have just any number of opportunities to get together and try to convert what we're seeing in this moment into a long-term trend. And so to me, it's no more pivotal time than now for us to gather and to figure out how we can really channel this sort of momentary growth into a long-term solution.
Sweet. All right. I like it. Even though there were no owls or Dolly Parton impersonators in our meeting here today, Anne, it was good to see you
It
again.
was good to